Well, hello. YouTube is telling me that we are live now. This is very exciting. And like I said in my emails, I'm kind of used to Zoom, so I can't see anyone. I don't know if anybody's here. Oh, no, wait, I can see that there are 8 people here. Ooh, exciting. Okay, great. Can those of you who have access to it please pop a quick message in the chat so we can check whether that's working? And if you feel comfortable sharing your name and maybe your location, that would be great. But I also want to say just a reminder in terms of respecting your privacy, make sure that you're not sharing anything too personal because this is being recorded, or rather, this is even live. Hello, David. So nice to see you. Well, so nice to know that you're here. I am imagining you. And yeah, so if you Hi, Tasha. Oh my God, everybody's excited to be here. And I think I know the first person as well, but if you feel comfortable confirming, hi, Mary. Excellent. Oh, this is so great. Thank you, my friends, for supporting me and for not making me talk to the zero void of nobody. This is fantastic. Oh, I'm so happy. Cool. Do we give people a moment to pop in or not? Or are we launching in? Yes, this is Paula. I thought so. Hi, Paula. So nice of you to come. Well, all right. I have ENFJ preferences. We know that I'm also German, hopefully. Hi, unless we don't know each other, unless you are here on the call and you haven't commented yet, or maybe you're watching the replay and we don't know each other. My name is Doris. I'm originally from Germany. I have ENFJ preferences and I'm certified type and relationship coach. And I also have a master's in applied psychology. So I like talking about personality type and how we like to use our brains and how we relate to one another, specifically how we're intimate in our romantic relationships. This is an experiment that I'm running, so I want to hold kind of open office hours because as someone with extroversion preferences, I like talking to people and I make videos and newsletters, and that is kind of asynchronous. So ideally, I would love to engage with people in real time, and we'll see if this works or not. I'm grateful that there is a chat function. I'm also very aware that I'll be monologuing a lot. So maybe in future we are going to do this on Zoom so that there could be a little bit more of an interaction, but we're just going to go with it. So in case this is also your first YouTube live, just some housekeeping. I won't be able to invite anyone to join me on screen, like I said. So please use the chat liberally for any and all comments, questions, concerns you might have. And I'm trying to navigate a couple of screens as well. So you might see my eyes darting back and forth, not to worry. And so it looks like we're settling in with a small group. And if you've been to a workshop with me before, you know that I like to center myself because I can get very excited. And in order to access our self with the capital S, it is very helpful sometimes to slow down a little bit. So if it's available to you, if you feel like it, feel free to join me. I'd like to take just a moment to slow down and connect. And the first thing I want to connect to is the ground. So I'm letting my weight drop into my seat a little bit. I'm putting my feet on the floor a little bit. Remember, as Kai Cheng Tom, one of my teachers, says, gravity is Earth's sign that she wants you here. So that should give us all a sense of safety, right? And then if we can bring our attention to our core, our torso, the spine, maybe straighten it up if you're kind of slumped down, that might be helpful. And just pay a little attention to what's going on internally. My heart's beating a little fast right now. I can feel that. I can feel some butterflies. And this attention to our spine and our core should give us access to a sense of confidence. And then the next thing would be to stretch out our awareness into all the directions around us, sensing and feeling into this field of energy around us. Notice how you can be aware of things far beyond yourself. You can probably hear noises coming in from the street. I can hear some cars. I can hear the wind without being right there. Also, in my case, the smell of what the neighbors are cooking. And that should give us a sense of we are embodied, but we are also part of the energy field around us. And so once we're connected with the ground, our core, in the field of awareness, then we can choose to focus on the task at hand. The noise you're hearing is the wind flapping on the terrace. If you've closed your eyes, feel free to open them again and reorient to the screen, and let me know in the chat how you're feeling, and maybe also what you'd like to get out of our time together today. Hello, the new person who just joined. While you're doing that, I'm also going to add a link to the workbook into the chat in case you haven't downloaded it yet. This is where you can access it. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And if people are a little shy, that's okay as well. Mary saying she's feeling great on the Saturday morning. Looking forward to getting some traction on this new exploration. Lovely. Amazing. I hope so too. And I know, Mary, you've downloaded the workbook already. Did you have a chance to try out the goal setting exercise from the first chapter? Or not just you, Mary, if anybody has a chance already to check out that exercise and let me know how that went, or if you have any questions, that'd be great. And then in the meantime, maybe I can figure out how to share it for those on the call or for those who are watching the replay who may not have access to it just yet. And then we'll all know what we're talking about. So this should be sharing the workbook now. It's called Building Relational Capacity. It's all right if you've not done the goal exercises yet. Maybe this is a good time to do it, right? Like, this is what office hours are for. We can do them together. I know what it's like to have plans, but unless you schedule time to actually do it, like going to the gym, I think coaching is very similar. If we want to reach a goal and we want to really work towards something, it can be at the back of our minds. And then sometimes we forget. So what I find helpful with coaching is there is a dedicated space, let it be an hour a week. That is the time to think about that particular thing. And then the rest of the time I can go about just living my life, because who has time to think about relationships 24/7? I mean, unless it's your job, right? So I like to do that a lot, but I understand that we also have a life where other things are going on. So this workbook then is about building relational capacity. This is a new kind of phrasing I'm playing with, building relational intelligence. Previously, if you've been around for a bit, my newsletter was around smart romantics. So there's definitely a sense of, I like to talk to people who already have shown an interest in educating themselves about their own inner experience and outer experience, right? So self-awareness is very important to me. And then also the people that tend to most resonate with my work are those who are interested in learning more, and not just in terms of self-awareness, but also other awareness. And that's what we are talking about. So thank you, Smart Romantics. Yeah, oh Jesus, we've gone through a few iterations as well. So the S, the M, the A, the R, and the T all had what was an abbreviation for certain characteristics. And I have a video on my channel about the 5 characteristics of Smart Romantics. There is a lot of overlap. So the Smart Romantics piece to me fits into the building relational intelligence umbrella, because it's about skill building and awareness. And so curiosity is, something is happening, maybe we like it, maybe we don't like it. Either way, let's take a look at it. Non-judgmental, just trying to understand it. And then love is, let's try and integrate in terms of cognitive functions. If we try and integrate this into our psyche, If we meet it where it is, if we're not trying to change it, if we're just putting some radical acceptance on it and some love on it, then it's more likely to be receptive to any suggestions that we might have for it, because maybe it's not been helpful. And that then leads to the growth part, where we learn and become more whole. So in Jungian terms, this would be, again, the self with the capital S, letting it shine a little bit more. And I'm now learning that IFS, internal family systems, is a very similar approach that also talks about the parts that we have and how they can come in contact with the self with the capital S. And then once they're integrated, we are better able to be curious and be non-judgmental and not feel so defensive, but also be creative and be very compassionate with ourselves and our partners. Like, this is all important stuff. Okay, so the workbook that I have, it explains a little bit how to use it. And full disclosure, again, it's an experiment. So it may not be completely thought through, but at the beginning of the year, I had an idea, all right, for my YouTube channel. This year, we're going to pretend like this is a relationship course. Every month, we're going to have a video about a little bit of a teaching model and then an exercise. And then we're going to do this live as a kind of office hours or a Q&A for people who want to go through the exercises and have questions. Like I said, it might not stay in the form of a YouTube live. It might turn into a Zoom thing, because this is not as interactive as I thought it was going to be. But it's an experiment, so we're starting with what we have. And so this first month, because if you've not done coaching before, the way that coaching works is we have to have a goal. We have to have something that we'd like to change. And ideally, this change is important to us. So it needs a little motivation behind it. Maybe it is a pain point. Maybe it is something you want to get away from. Maybe it is something you want to move towards. So maybe it's aspirational. But it is something that you want to change in your life, because coaching essentially is a change management process or a supported change process. So the way I think about relationships, we don't have to read the whole thing. But what I see, and in my experience now that I've been doing couples coaching, and I've worked with couples before in other constellations as well, and also my own experience, frankly, the relationship is fine, and then we hit a wall, and then one or both want to go talk to a professional support person, be that a therapist or a coach, to see if they can make it better. And then the idea or the hope is, if my partner just changed these 1, 2, 3 things, then the relationship would be great. Can you put in the chat if that resonates, maybe? Right? So we're not calling anybody out. This is a common human wish and interaction thing. I've had it. I hope you can relate, because it would be so much easier if everybody else around us just did what we wanted them to do. So yes, absolutely on point. Thank you. And that is, that is wishful thinking, right? So my whole deal is that I would like to share with people who are ready to hear it that, one, we are living a lot more out of our unconscious. So we are living a lot more unconsciously than we realize. And we have a lot more power, influence, control over our emotions and experience and thoughts and feelings than we realize. The thing that puts it together, and at least in my experience so far, is if we put a little bit of awareness into, hey, where am I acting on autopilot? And what is it that I really want to be doing? That has a great impact on the quality of our life, and in turn of our relationship and the relational life. So the question that I'm inviting people to ask this year is not what do you want your partner to change, but who do you want to be in the relationship? How do you want to show up? And the question here is, who am I becoming inside this relationship? Because in case it wasn't clear or evident, I'm a Gen Xer, so type development and personal development is, and now in the second half of my life, it is definitely something that I'm a lot more aware of. The things that used to serve me while I was in my 20s or 30s are definitely not as prevalent anymore. I've been having a lot of dreams about development and things that I'm shedding, and we can talk about dreams another time as well. The podcast that I recommend for dream work, if you're interested, is This Jungian Life. 3 analysts talking about Jungian concepts and dreams. Very fascinating tangent. But so I believe also that we go through developmental processes, whether we initiate them consciously or not, right? Sometimes we are thrown into a development when a big external event affects us, like getting fired from a job or a person breaking up with you or a divorce or something bad happening. So there is external stuff that can happen that can throw us into a developmental push where we need to find resources and skills that we didn't know we had. Or it can be an internal push as well, or an internal pull, perhaps is the better word, from this concept of self with a capital S, where our nature wants out, or our soul wants to have a certain experience, or there is just something inside us that wants us to do things a little differently, maybe not play so small anymore, maybe not please other people so much anymore, right? Does anyone want to put anything in the chat about maybe an external or an internal push or pull that you have experienced? Like, does any of this land? Paula says it makes sense to her. That's great. Someone says lots of needing to feel needed instead of comfortable with just being. So needing to feel needed instead of comfortable with just being. I would love to hear a little more. What comes to mind is someone that I talked to recently who is a mother. And this mothering instinct of, I have to take care of my children in all the different ways. And how difficult that can be, because sometimes you lose yourself in the way. And then as the kids grow older, they may not want to be supported as much as you want to support them. And then Mary says, push or pull, believing I have the capacity to manage the situation. Yes, that's that core piece, right? Like, this is definitely when we are embodied, I feel like there's a piece of confidence in our competence that comes with practice. But I feel like there's also an internal sense sometimes, when we're very lucky, of, yeah, no, I can handle this. Whatever is going to happen, I can handle it. Any more comments? Okay, so following on the previous comment about needing to be needed, for me, this is about needing to feel useful in order to feel noticed or appreciated. To reverse it, I find it hard to accept that I'm likable and lovable without doing something helpful or useful. Thank you for sharing. I want to let that land and sit with that for a minute. And if I may offer just a little reframe, because we don't know each other, I don't think. If I may offer a linguistic tweak, how would it feel if you said, a part of me finds it hard to accept that I'm likable or lovable? Or a part of me feels like it needs to feel useful. Just see if that lands any differently. Because if we're going back to the psyche and our ego and all those structures that we have in our mind and that make up who we are, and nobody quite understands exactly how they work. But we are always listening to ourselves, right? So if we tell ourselves, I was told once that I was in Texas, and I was in this reading group for the Bhagavad Gita, and the person who led it, Patrick, shout out to Patrick, he said, that I am are the two most powerful words in the language, because you're literally creating your reality. So just saying, maybe if the sensation that comes with it, or if the thought feels like it's a lot, the linguistic tweak would be to say maybe a part of me, right? Because you are self with a capital S, and a part is there. We have all so many parts. So Mary, yes, to your point, this is the IFS model, and obviously this is going to come out because I'm doing a course on IFS right now. So I'm learning the things and I'm sharing what I'm learning, and I found it helpful, so I hope you might find it helpful as well. Okay, and then David said, I'm a full-time caregiver to my wife. Our relationship is strong, but at times I get stressed out complying with her requests. I want to hold space for you there, and I want to send you a lot of love and moral support, emotional support in this way that I can. Do you feel comfortable sharing any more about that? So it sounds like a part of you sometimes gets stressed. And I'm sure there are 17 other parts that are very compassionate and patient and loving. Because I remember how you were together when we met. 15 years ago now? 20? It's been a while. But yes, thank you for sharing. Well, you're right. Let's go back to our friend, the brown polar bear. See what you're saying. Our identity is made up of many facets and voices, some of which are louder than others. Yes, I'm probably listening and hearing one voice more than others sometimes. Yes. It feels uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. Also, I don't wish to make this session about me. It's for everyone. Oh, yes. And I can guarantee that a lot of people have the same thoughts and feelings and concerns as you, and they're just not speaking up. And this is also in service of everybody who might be watching the recording. So thank you for participating. You're doing me a huge honor and a huge favor that I don't just have to talk to myself. I appreciate you. Also, it's okay to take up space. You are literally being useful now. So thanks. Paula, I like that reframe, and I'm going to look for opportunities to apply it. Beautiful. That's all about the applying, right? Because here's the thing. When I said so much of our life is automatic and unconscious, or whatever word you want to put on it, this is a way to put a little awake awareness into it. And in order to put the awake awareness into it, you might want to frame it as an experiment, because that will mean you don't have to do it right. You just have to do it whenever you remember. Like, this doesn't have to be something that you put on your habit tracker. We're not here to stress anybody out or to add to your to-do lists. This is supposed to be light and informative, and see if it fits. Again, whatever doesn't fit, leave it. That's fine. But the applying it and looking for ways to apply it, that already means that you're priming your awareness, that you're probably going to find opportunities where you can use it as well. And then the more you practice it, the more you are shifting the grooves in your brain, right? We know about neuroplasticity, although neuroplasticity in this regard, I think, is used in a slightly different way. But what I said earlier, that second point about we do have a lot more control or influence over our emotions, sensations, and thoughts than we previously assumed. This would be one of those examples. If you choose to start thinking about parts of yourself instead of I am stressed, there's a part of me that is stressed. Or I am annoyed, there's a part of me that is annoyed, right? But yeah, practice is going to make that easier over time. Yes, a part of me is stressed and impatient as well. I'm also a caretaker. Yeah. Mary, can I just send some love to all the caretakers? Some of you know that my husband is taking care of his parents, and without making it about me or us, that's a tough job. It's very difficult. It is emotionally charged. It is very rewarding and also very difficult. And I am here to invite you, in case this wasn't clear, to embrace the complexity. You can love them and be annoyed with them and lose your patience with them and be compassionate with them and take care of them and do all the things. You are not just one thing, right? You are and are made up of so many things, and relationships are so damn complex. It is okay to make space for all of that and breathe into all of that. So one of the pet peeves that I've had for a long time, and I don't quite know how to put the words to it, is but this thing of bad emotions or negative emotions. If you were enlightened, you'd never be angry. Or if you were a good person, you wouldn't get frustrated. I think that's BS. I think all emotions are valid. All emotions have information for us. And if you're going back to the curiosity, love, and growth bit, I might offer that. Again, it's like it's my motto and mantra, and it's been working for me, but maybe it helps you as well. If you could just look at what it is trying to say, what's going on without judgment, just let it be. Most of the feelings, and if you're trying to ignore them or if you're trying to push them under, they're like this air-filled ball that you're trying to push underwater. It will come bursting out eventually, so you might as well pay attention to it, let the air out, not controlledly, but just don't ignore it. It's there for a reason. Invite it in, but also don't let it drive the bus, right? Yourself with a capital S is the one that should be driving the bus, and everybody else can sit in the back. And sometimes, like someone else mentioned, those different voices might get louder. But as soon as you become aware that they are trying to take over, that they have their hand on the wheel, you can decide to put your awareness back into your core, your ground, your field, and then make different choices. Okay. This is mostly when she asks for multiple things at one time, usually just when I'm about to sit down. I feel bad for reacting this way. David, I hear you. And you only feel bad because you are such a good person. And you want to do everything right. And you love her and you want to give her the best care possible. Right? This was not very coaching of me. Sorry. Because I should have asked you if you want to change anything about that. But can I just get that off my chest? So, yes, it's difficult to set boundaries with someone who needs support, because obviously support is needed on their schedule, not necessarily when you can give it. I mean, ask me about the times that Modesto had to get up in the middle of the night to drive over there because something happened. It's like, yeah, this is caretaking. Oh my God, is very complex. So, yeah. Can I just normalize it and say that that is an absolutely human reaction? Okay. Paula, being helpful in the chat again. Thank you. Mary, heard an interview yesterday with Charles Duhigg, author of The Power of Habit, and he shared that research shows that on average, we go through life with 40% of what we do think is on autopilot. 40%. I think Jung would even call it 99. But yeah, very helpful. Myself with a capital S knows that I'm caught in a pattern. Ooh, in habitual thinking. Habitual thinking, sorry. I read it wrong because I was distracted by the emoji. It's a blue one. Very nice. Absolutely agree about no emotions being negative. Great. I don't believe we can fully control our emotions. They usually just happen, even if we don't want to be frustrated, angry, etc. We're human. Yes. And I really love, if you're unfamiliar, the book that I would recommend is How Emotions Are Made by Lisa Feldman Barrett. And I can put that in the chat later or in the show notes later or whatever we call it. And she did some research and she's been talking about it for a few years now, that emotions are constructed, basically. The example that she gives, I thought, was so cool about how much influence we actually have over our emotions that, again, we're not aware of. So that story she was telling was that she was in grad school, and I'm probably butchering it very broadly. She was in grad school. A guy kept asking her out. She kept saying no, but he persisted. This was clearly before there was consent conversations. And eventually she said, all right, then I'll go for dinner with you. And so during dinner, she felt butterflies in her stomach and interpreted it as, oh, well, maybe I'm more attracted to him than I thought. And then after the dinner, she went home and she ended up throwing up all night because she had the flu. So the way she explains this emotion as being constructed is she calls the brain a metabolic organ, and its job is to keep the organism alive. So based on previous experience, we're interpreting what used to keep us alive in the past and what is going to be helpful in that whatever particular situation. So there's a conglomerate of signals that are being sent to the brain. In this case, candlelight, dinner, male counterpart, usually interpreted as romance. So she thought, okay, so I'm guessing this is romance. But it was her body telling her, no, you're sick and you're about to throw up, right? So context matters. When I first heard this, I found it so interesting. And yeah, I'm talking to everyone and anyone about this, how emotions are made. It may be true, it may not be true, we don't know, but the current level of research seems to suggest that an emotion or a physical sensation, if we can look at it on this balance of pleasant, unpleasant, excitatory, or calming, then everything else is interpretation. That's a whole other field of study and way a big tangent. Something that I've been trying also to apply when I feel something. I'm trying to take the interpretation or the overlay of what this means out of it, which is something that my introverted intuiting loves to do, right? Someone with ENFJ preferences, the NI is trying to be helpful to others and myself. And so instead of jumping to conclusions or overly relying on past experience, I'm trying to take it, the valence out a notch and just say, all right, is it pleasant or unpleasant? And am I feeling calmer or more excited? And then everything else we can see, all right, whatever the context is, like for instance, before this live, I was very jittery and super nervous. And I chose to interpret it as excitement to get going instead of anxiety about what all the things are that could go wrong, if that makes sense. You like this very much. Oh, thank you. My FE likes the validation very much. And we haven't even talked about type a lot, but I brought a little bit of type in there. So if you have any type questions, because I know some of you are here from the type community, do let me know. Okay. Mary, first we have to notice the emotion, and that begins with noticing what we're feeling on a physical level. Yes, absolutely. So that's why this grounding exercise, and again, we don't have to meditate for hours every day, but I think if we habitually maybe have like 2-3 minutes where we're like, oh, hey, I haven't paid attention to my breathing in a while. Maybe I can feel my feet, feel my torso, and just scan into the field a little bit. Take 2-3 deep breaths. All right. And then the connection is back, right? Because yeah, otherwise we're very susceptible, I think, to just outside influences. And then I feel like we're being tossed and turned around instead of acting from our favorite self, maybe, or not to say best self, because that would imply that there is a not so good self. Yeah. Okay, I'm enjoying this very much. Sorry, I'm very chatty. Can you tell? Am I totally red in the face? I'm probably getting red in the face. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Pop them in the chat. I do want to, just because this is the live for the January thing, let's go back maybe to this goal setting. How do we want to show up? And when it comes to your relationships, well, where are you now and where do you want to get to? If you had a moment to read the workbook, I would love to hear what you think about this handout. Like I said, I adapted it from Martha Kauppi. I'm in her supervision group. We meet twice a month. I did her ADSIP training last year. And I just found her way of approaching it at the same time, no nonsense and so loving and kind, because it's really, well, where do you want to get to? If you're unhappy in your relationship, what do you want to change? And again, not waiting for anyone else to change, because that's a wish and that robs you of your agency. And it's one of those buzzwords. But, and yes, there are systemic issues. We can't change everything. But again, I think that we can change more, or we can influence more than we think we do. So not to rob us of the possibility to change the system, because this is something we're going to get into next month. Your relationship is a system. Everything influences one another. So by definition, if you change yourself, you are also changing the system. Not to jump ahead or anything, but that's what we're going to talk about next month. So what kind of relationship do you want to create was the first exercise. Write down your ideal Tuesday or whatever. And then how are you showing up? What kind of a partner are you being in your fantasy of this deeply happy relationship? And then the nudge with the big pole, if it wasn't clear enough, is that a goal is something you can change. If your goal is, and so again, my relationship coaching is kind of skewed towards with an intimacy focus. If the goal is to have more sex, is that completely in your control? Probably not. So that's a wish. So the goal is, what can you do to bring about situations where sex might be more accessible, right? And yeah, how do you want to be as a person? Sometimes it helps to think about values that are important to you. And also the best goals have a clear payoff directly for you. Over the last couple of weeks, I've seen a theme of people talking about where our partners make requests and we agree to them in the moment. We just say, yes, dear. And then follow through is another matter and sometimes doesn't happen. So then the question in the coaching session becomes, let's slow this down. You're agreeing to the request. You're saying, yes, dear, without thinking about, well, what's in it for you? Do you even want to do this thing that they're asking of you? Or what's in it for you if you did do the thing that they're asking of you? And what scaffolding do you have? Or if this is a new thing that they're asking you to do, what do you need to set yourself up for success? And also, like, is there maybe a negotiation around parameters, around characteristics? Because a lot of people, I feel like in relationships, and especially around the intimacy issues, but in general, there is this all or nothing thinking. There is this tendency to say, well, they're asking me to do this thing, so all I can do is say yes or no. And in my experience and in my opinion, a relational skill would be to embracing the complexity of that and saying, well, yes, under these circumstances, or no, not yet, or no, not this, but maybe something else, right? These conversations don't have to be over in 2 minutes. They don't have to be over in one go. You can take your time and you can make sure that you show up as the full, complex person that you are. You're always allowed to change your mind as well. Start the conversation and then continue it at another time. So that's what I mean with what I mentioned earlier about if you make the time, be it once a week for an hour, to talk to some or have someone help you find the words to have that conversation with your partner or something. I think that is what coaching does really well, because you can slow it down, right? If you want to have a better relationship, that is not going to happen overnight. If you've been together for 10 years and things are in their grooves, then it's going to probably take a little time to ungroove it and check in again with, do we even know one another now 10 years later? Because newsflash, I think people do change. And even if they don't, circumstances might change and you grow and you have access to different cognitive functions. And then it's just such a rich conversation when you're really meeting your person and not just automatically or on autopilot assuming, well, this is what they did last year, so it'll be the same. And it's like, well, no, have you checked that? Okay. So the goals, if you want to set a goal for yourself, the invitation is to really think about, make it you specific. How do you want to show up? If you have a certain recurring issue and everything just escalates all the time and it's always the same, what can you do differently to zhuzh up the system and see what happens differently? And these goals also, as we said, you have to be able to practice them because it's not going to be easy to change anything. It's not going to happen overnight. So little just touch point, what's the smallest common denominator or an easy thing that you can try multiple times, and then you can revisit, because maybe you tried something and it didn't work, and then that's okay. That's information, right? You tried something different. Was it Edison who said he's found 17,000 ways how not to do a light bulb? That's okay. That's an iterative process is okay. All right. And this was me talking a lot again. Let's go back to the chat. This reminds me of a book, The 5 Things We Cannot Change and the Happiness We Find by Embracing Them, by David Richo. Excellent. I'm going to look that up. Thank you. Helped me a lot. And I think there are some similarities to what you're saying. Okay, perfect. That's the other thing. I mean, everything I read, like this IFS stuff, it lands on my previous knowledge of Jung and psychological types. And I brought that to the course Q&A, and the person was like, but IFS is also its own discrete thing. So let's not mix and mash. So yeah, but to me, the N, I see the Venn diagrams and I see some overlaps. But we also want to make sure that every little angle has its own merit. Cool. So thank you for the book recommendation. So let me stop here for a second. Any comments on goals? Did you have a goal? Did you set a goal? And I'm also noticing the time. It's 10 to 6. I'm happy to stay on after the hour as well. Let me know if you have to jump off or whatever. But actually, I'm going to share this other page in case you want to read it as well, because it has these other sentence of the goal, the way that is formulated. What might you want to change about yourself that will make a difference to you in your relationship and be in alignment with your values? And again, the attribution to Martha Kauppi. So yeah, anybody want to share a goal? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how uncomfortable is it to think, oh, I have to change? Solid 10, right? Well, yeah. That's because you're younger. That's the other thing. I mean, if I can throw that into the chat, and for the type-aware people among you, later, if you're watching this recording, feel free to leave a comment. Do you think the type development is consciously accessible, or in your 20s and 30s already, or is that really something that kicks in properly, in your 50s? Okay, the goal approach is new to me and I look forward to trying it. Perfect. Yes, this is the awareness of self, right? Let's think about what we can do to make our lives better. And I also want to say, sorry, this just shook something else loose, something that my therapist said to me, and I think other therapists have said it on social media by now as well. Many years ago, I had learned that, let me see, how do I phrase this? It may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility to take care of yourself in ways that make your life more manageable, right? This is in the context of ACEs, so adverse childhood experiences, or in the context of traumatic experiences, or in the context of just life when shit doesn't go your way. It may not be your fault, but it is, as an able-bodied, able-minded adult, your opportunity and your responsibility to do something about it. So I find that very encouraging and very hopeful to recognize and acknowledge that we have agency, right? Again, this thing that's such an old saying, but if something's not working for you, you're not a tree, move, right? You can take yourself out of certain situations. I mean, I understand, again, some systemic stuff, but outside of systemic issues, there are a lot of things that you can do. And it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of strength and just, wherewithal to enter into that kind of work and make those choices. But again, if you want to change something, which brings us back to the whole goal thing, if you're unhappy or dissatisfied, or if something's not working the way you want it to work, the way you're doing it now, try and do something differently. And there are people who are trained in helping you figure out how you might do that. So I would like my partner and I to live together one day, logistics aside, in a way that is more balanced than when we last did, and in a way that doesn't make her feel mostly responsible for us. Thank you, David. That sounds like you have to jump off. Sending you a lot of love and hugs. Okay, sorry. The polar bear person. You would like to live together with your partner in a way that is more balanced than when we last did, and in a way that doesn't make her feel responsible for us. So if I may, again, we don't know how she thinks or feels, and we have no control over that. Share whatever you're comfortable. If you're thinking back to the last time you lived together, how did you show up then, and how did you behave, and what did you do? Like, what did you contribute to the system that made it feel unbalanced for you? And then what do you want to change going forward? What do you think you can do differently so that it feels more balanced? This is a great example. I also want to acknowledge, since this is a very different and a very counterintuitive way of thinking about a relationship, because you're not the only person in the relationship, right? Obviously, your partner's input also matters. And the relational intelligence piece is, for me, best approached by starting with myself, right? Or starting with yourself. So let's first figure out how you are showing up and what you want to get out of it. A question that I like very much is, what do you want to be experiencing that you're not experiencing now? I'm going to repeat that. What do you want to be experiencing that you're not experiencing now? And then what can you do to create the conditions to bring those experiences about? Obviously, they involve your partner, but if you couldn't expect or ask or rely on your partner to contribute anything, right, to the situation that or experience that you're trying to bring about, what is it that you can be doing? Feel free to put it in the chat if you're up for this kind of impromptu hot seat situation, or write it in your notebook and think about it and revisit it next week and give it some time to percolate. Because we have, our fantasies and our ideal imaginations, right? In an ideal world, this is what we'd love to happen. And then the next step is to say, well, okay, so then what do I have to do to make that happen? Okay. Once you have written all those thoughts down, the optional experiment would be to talk to your partner about it, or take it to your next couples session or your individual therapy session, or come talk to me. And then there are progress markers. The way I see it is, once you start paying attention to how it is that you want to show up, you will notice when you're not showing up the way you want to show up. and then you will have opportunity to recalibrate and reorient quicker. Okay, maybe we'll leave it here for today, and we're going to summarize a little bit. Oh, wait, we have okay. I think I have to be bolder and braver with things that I'm not comfortable with, and that makes me anxious and unconfident. Maybe something you and I should unpack together. I would love to, because this showing up authentically in a relationship is such a big deal. And chances are your partner wants you to show up authentically, because then they know how to be with you and how to meet you where you're at, right? Yeah, I have thoughts. I have lots of thoughts, and I have lots of questions. So if you wait, I have a link here. If you feel like reaching out, that would be amazing. I'm always inviting people to just book a consult, like a free consult, free of charge. We're going to talk for half an hour or an hour, whatever it is. I put the link in the chat. And oh wait, let me stop sharing. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for the chats and the participations. I think this was, I mean, I had a good time. Did you have a good time? I would love some feedback in the chat, please. Thank you. And while you comment, if you feel called to do so, I wanted to just say, yeah, next month we're going to talk about patterns and the relationship dance and that system that I mentioned a little bit more, right? To talk about how do we influence one another, and why is it that if only one partner does things differently, then the whole relationship improves or changes. And there's going to be a video about it, and then there's going to be a YouTube live, or maybe a Zoom call. I don't know. We might have to make it a Zoom call. We'll figure it out. And that is always going to be on the 17th of the month at 5 p.m. GMT. So I would love to close with another grounding breath, if that's all right. And say a little bit of a loving kindness mantra. May you be happy and protected. May you be healthy and strong. And may you be peaceful and at ease. Okay. Thank you, Doris. Chatting with you always sets off wonderful trains of thoughts. Thank you, Tasha. Likewise. I'm looking forward to our next call. Thank you, Doris. Very thought-provoking, some great practical strategies. Yes, Paula. I'm looking forward to talking to you again soon as well. I had a lovely time. Thank you. The workbook made me feel intimidated at first, and I thought about leaving in order to take my time with it, but I'm glad I stayed. Thank you for your insights. That is the best compliment. Thank you, my brown polar bear. I appreciate you very much. Okay, I'm going to close it here, and I hope to see you again next month. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.